Hi, I'm Evan Guintoli from Capstone Corporations, and today we're doing a training video on hazard communications. And we want to talk a little bit about the history behind it. About 32 million workers are exposed to chemical hazards every year. Um, about 65,000 chemical products exist and are used daily, and this is continually new ones are introduced. Some health effects may include heart alignments, central nervous system damage, kidney and lung damage, cancer, burns, and rashes. Some various other precautions that are health effects that may take place, or you can read the label. It'll tell you what's on it and what could happen. Safety hazards are potential to cause fires, explosions, or other serious accidents, and that also would depend what chemicals you're working with as well. Concept of regulation. Employees have both a need and a right to know the hazards and identities of the chemicals they are exposed to when working. They also need to know what protective measures are available to prevent adverse effects from occurring, such as what PPE should be used for what chemicals you're working with that day or could potentially be exposed to. Who is covered? The general industry, shipyard, marine terminals, longshoring, construction employers, chemical manufacturers, importers, employers, and employees exposed to chemical hazards. For us, our employer responsibilities to our employees is a significant portion of the standard, and it pertains only to chemical manufacturers, importers, and distributors as well. Employers who do not produce chemicals only have to focus on establishing a workplace program and communicating information to their workers. And we have implemented a program, and we also are training our employees on this and making them aware of what chemicals may take what certain precautions and such. Inventory, identify and list hazardous chemicals in workplaces. MSDS and labeling, which we have our MSDS book right here, and it obtains material safety data sheets and labels for each hazardous chemical if not provided by the manufacturer, importer, or distributor. You can also go online and find any MSDS that may not be labeled or is unreadable. The written program, implement a written program including labels, MSDSs, and employee training. Communication and training. Communicate hazardous information to employees through labels, MSDSs, and formal training programs.
I'm Mike Reno from Capstone Corporation, Vice President of All Safety Operations. What I want to talk about today is some other federal agencies and the regulations that pertain to what we do as a company. Here at Capstone Corporation, we deal with a number of different chemicals, pesticides, and other substances. For example, a common pesticide we deal with today, some different chemicals we use in our shops and different companies and things like that, and other hazardous waste materials. For our annual hazard assessment, the first step in minimizing workplace hazards is to perform a thorough hazard assessment. Manufacturer evaluations. Employers can rely on the manufacturers or importers' evaluations of the hazards of the chemicals they use from our MSDS. Our program ensures that all employers receive the information they need to inform and train their employees properly. Our program also provides necessary hazard information to our employees. So far as written programs, we cover all information including labels and other forms of warnings, material safety data sheets, employee information as well as employee training, lists of all chemicals present in the MSDS, methods used to inform employees of hazards of non-routine tasks, and hazards of chemicals in unlabeled pipes. When other employees have employees on site that may be exposed, programs must include various methods to provide contractor employees with on-site access to MSDS, methods used to inform other employers of precautionary measures for normal and emergency situations, and the employer's chemical labeling system. Any consumer product, as defined in the Consumer Product Safety Act that we follow here at Capstone Corporation, is used in the workplace for the purpose that it is intended and has an exposure within the range that can be reasonably experienced by consumers when used for intended purpose. All written programs must be available upon request to both the employees and their representatives, and the program may be kept at the main location in our safety professional's office.
Hi, I'm Cole Satterlund with Capstone Corporation, and I'm the head janitor here. I deal a lot with chemicals on a daily basis. One of the things I'm going to talk about are the containers in which the chemicals are in. One important thing to know about containers is that they're not labeled, but the label that it should be on there, do not use, and the label should be in English, legible for everybody to see. Some of the things that the label should have on it are a picture of what it's used for, and then some of the hazards that could happen. Some of the things that should be on the label are a picture of what the chemical is used for, and then any potential health risk to the user of the chemicals. And then it also good to have the targeted organs of the chemical in case of exposure, and then the name and address of the company in case something does happen. You can call them. Like I said earlier, labels are necessary on all the containers. However, if you're transferring the chemical into a smaller, more manageable container to use, and you're using it immediately after that, you are not required to label it. Have a label on there, and then once you're done with use, you'll just empty it out and wash it out and rinse it and put it back where it was.
My name is Joe Whitman, and I'm a safety manager for Capstone Corporation. We'll be talking about the employee information and the training that's provided. Employees must be provided information and training on the hazardous chemicals in their work area. You'll find this in the MSDS books that are provided next to the work areas. They need to be informed of this at the time of their initial assignment, whenever a new physical or health hazard is introduced into the work area, or where there may be cover categories of hazards of individual chemicals. The employee information is that employers must inform employees of training requirements of the section, operations in their work area where hazardous chemicals are present, and the location and availability of the written hazard communication program, which will be by the MSDS. What the employee training must contain is the program, which is an explanation of the HAZCOM program, including information on the labels, which could be found on the actual bottles or in the MSDS, the physical and health hazards of the chemicals, the protection such as the engineering controls, work practices, and the use of PPE, such as these glasses right here, go in your eyes like this. And also detection on how to detect the presence of a release of a hazardous chemical using monitoring devices, observation, or smell. Some health hazard definitions are acute, which is rapid effects as a result of short-term exposures of short duration; chronic, which is effects as a result of long-term exposure of long duration; or corrosive, which is visible destruction or irreversible damage to body tissue, including acids and bases. Some of the target organ effects that these chemicals can produce are hepatotoxins, which is liver damage; nephrotoxins, which is kidney damage; neurotoxins, which affects your nervous system, which act on the blood or hematopoietic system, which deprive the body of tissues of oxygen; and also agents which damage the lungs. Some more organ effects are the reproductive toxins, including teratogens, which damage fetuses, and mutagens, which damage DNA. There's also eye hazards, which you would use goggles for. And setting up a program. The hazard communication standard covers both physical hazards, such as flammability, and health hazards, such as irritation, lung damage, and cancer. Most chemicals used in the workplace have some hazard potential, and thus will be covered by the rule.
Hi, I'm Seth Espy, Northwest Regional Safety Director for Capstone Corporation. Some more things about setting up your program. This rule is more performance-oriented than many other OSHA regulations, meaning that you have the flexibility to adapt the rule to the needs of your workplace, rather than having to follow specific and rigid requirements. First thing you should do when setting up this program is to make a list of all the chemicals in the workplace that are potentially hazardous. Survey the workplace to make a comprehensive list of all these items. And if you have any unidentified containers, including pipes, make sure you figure out what those are. Then you can establish purchasing procedures to make sure that any chemicals that you purchase, you have a material safety data sheet already on hand. You should compile a complete list of potentially hazardous chemicals in the workplace, determine if you've received the MSDS for all of them, and then if any are missing, contact your supplier and request one. Do not allow employees to work with chemicals for which you have not received an MSDS. All workplaces where employees are exposed to hazardous chemicals must have a written plan. Don't worry, the plan does not have to be lengthy or complicated. In fact, it should be written in layman's terms so that it's easy for all the workers to understand. For employee training, you may want to discuss each chemical individually if there are only a few chemicals in the workplace, but you may want to do general chemical training if there are large numbers of chemicals or where the chemicals change frequently on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis. Another strategy is to do training based on different hazard categories, such as flammable liquids versus corrosive materials versus carcinogens. The rule does not require employees to maintain records of employee training, but many employers choose to do so anyways. This may help you monitor your own program to ensure that all employees are appropriately trained. Once again, we are Capstone Corporation. We hope that you found this video helpful and useful. Thanks for stopping by.